system what you did. It took about 2 million Americans before I was sworn in. 2 million Americans had been vaccinated. Today, because of the efforts what you voted for, we have more than 250 million Americans fully vaccinated. You all remember the lines of cars? Remember nice-looking cars stretched for hours and hours to Moken just to get a box of food. Well, guess what?
Exciting news, the lawmakers are considering monthly stimulus checks, and these payments automatically deposited for millions of people. Democrats are pushing for new checks to be worth at least $300, and now the child tax credit, which was temporarily expanded through the American Rescue Plan, had the existing credit of $2,000 per dependent under age 17. It was increased to around $3,600 per dependent under 6 and $3,000 per child under 6 to 17. Half of the enhanced sum was made available through monthly payments starting last July, up to $300 per child under 6 and up to $250 per child under 18. Families could claim the remaining money when they filed their tax returns for the year, and Democrats had hoped to renew some more generous credits this year. But the key legislation they hope to pass through the Build Back Better bill has fallen apart, and Joe Manchin is the one to blame. He is opposed to renewing the payments without additional work requirements, and it's all on Joe Manchin now. Democrats and advocates are hoping to get one more go at renewing the enhanced child tax credit this year. Adam Rubin, a campaign director at an advocacy organization that promotes extending economic power to all Americans, told reporters, "I feel better about it than I have at any point in 2022. A number of signs are pointing to new momentum. President Biden called the enhanced child tax credit one of the most effective programs we've ever seen at a recent White House conference, and Joe Biden also said, "That's why my national strategy calls on Congress to expand the child credit permanently. We'll get it done more this time." And recently released census data shows the credit expansion has helped reduce child poverty by more than 40%. That prompted Democratic lawmakers like Michael Bennet of Colorado, Sherrod Brown of Ohio, and Cory Booker of New Jersey to call for extending the enhanced credit before the year ends. The post-election period, everybody, could be a key opportunity for revisiting the proposal. It's a more optimism time compared to last year, as lawmakers are at a year-end tax deal to revisit corporate tax cuts put in place in 2017. Advocates hope an enhanced child tax credit can be included in that package. And Brown said in a recent interview, no more tax breaks for big corporations and the wealthy unless the child tax credit is with it. According to Elaine Mag, an expert at the Urban Bookings Tax Policy Center, there were the few key features behind the success of the 2021 credit, in addition to the higher credit amounts that monthly payments. And now, the credit was made fully refundable. That made it possible for low-income households to access the full credit. Plus, don't forget about this, everybody. Experts say that when lawmakers negotiate on new terms, an enhanced child tax credit may not be as generous as the 2021 crisis-era relief. Now, child poverty is poised to increase relative to last year. Economists have said that Congress had a real choice on whether or not to take action and stern some of the rise in poverty, and the work requirements may be a sticking point in the negotiations between the two parties. Over the past few months, Americans can now apply for additional crisis relief assistance. The administration has announced and confirmed that hundreds of billions of more dollars are being put towards more financial aid for the people. New checks worth up to $500 have also been approved, so make sure to watch until the end to see how to claim this money. So many Virginia residents can get a check in the mail or money deposited into your bank account if you're eligible for this year's tax rebate. The rebate is part of a bipartisan plan that's passed through the state, and in this year's Generally Assembled session, the Virginia Department of Taxation website lists more information
to $1,827 per month starting in January. Now, most people think of Social Security as a program for older Americans, and it's true that most of the roughly 70 million recipients in the program are 62 or older. But this program also helps millions of disabled workers, children, widows, and widowers. In fact, there are 9 million disabled workers on it, another 6 million children, widows, and widowers. So this means that a broad range of Americans will actually be helped by this cost of living adjustment starting in January.
So checks will be arriving this holiday season. The lawmakers are planning to send down more inflation checks, and there is a relief check proposal that would give more help to those in need. So, stimulus checks have had a profound impact on millions of people's lives, and they may continue to affect the size of your bank during the end of this year, and even into 2023, folks. So, each state has different guidelines and its inflation checks. Some states are offering tax rebates, others are sending out direct checks that range from $50 to even $1,000. Now, states were given $195 billion, everybody. $195 billion to give their citizens a stimulus check as well. Some states are offering tax rebates while others are giving you $50 checks and even $1,000 stimulus payments. States were given this money to help the people in need. Some states like Colorado, Maryland, and New Mexico are giving checks to people who make less than a certain amount of money or who are on unemployment. Other states like Florida, Georgia, and Michigan and Texas are putting the money toward $1,000 bonuses for teachers. Two Maine state senators are opposing to change the governor's Emergency Energy Assistance Bill to benefit those who need the most. Senator Rick Bennett and Senator Nicole told reporters that they've been working together on this bill to help the low income. And Bennett, a former Senate president who was one of the 8 to vote against the bill, said he feels strongly that the public should have a chance to weigh in before the legislature spends close to $500 million. The original bill called for $450 checks to be sent to 92% of Maine adults and set income limits at $100,000 and $200,000 for couples. That program is projected to cost nearly $400 million. So Bennett and Grohowski are proposing to send checks of varying amounts to 41% of Maine adults based on your income limit. That's up to $60,000, and the system would make payments as high as $800 for couples making $20,000 or less a year. $400 for couples that are making between $40,000 and $60,000 a year. The cost of the program would be around $200 million. So Bennett and people are proposing to keep other parts of the bill still in the stimulus program, including $40 million in supplemental funding for the low-income heating assistance program and $20 million to support emergency housing and shelters. They're proposing to increase from $10 million to $15 million emergency heating assistance funds. Janet Yellen is even striking a cautiously optimistic tone about 2023, predicting a major inflation cooldown and stressing that a recession isn't required to get prices back under control. During an interview, Janet Yellen said, "I believe by the end of next year, you will see much lower inflation if there's not an anticipated shock." Yellen cited plunging gas prices and said on Monday that the national average is down by 52 cents a gallon. In the past month, that's a lot. The Federal Reserve is widely expected to deliver a 7th straight interest rate hike on Wednesday, though investors are betting the central bank will slow the pace of rate increases from 3/4 to a half percentage point. We don't know the Fed's aggressive rate hikes have been driving up borrowing costs, credit card rates at a record high, and even raising fears of a recession. Like other administration officials, Yellen argued the economy is in the middle of a healthy transition, from blockbuster growth to something more sustainable. Yellen said we had a very rapid recovery from the crisis, and economic growth was very high. But folks, do you agree with that? And do you think it's real what Janet Yellen is saying? Or do you think she's putting on a fluff? Well, I think that President Biden must do more for the people, that's for sure, and send out stimulus payments because people need it the most. Are people in need, and that means people that are low income, people on Social Security, they need stimulus checks greater than ever. So the IRS also started sending out letters to approximately 9 million households. Now, folks, we have a ton of news about the fourth stimulus payment that you have to know. Joe Biden is making progress on the fourth stimulus payment, and it's good to know this because there's a ton of information about this stimulus check. First of all, looming cuts to monthly benefits are set to affect the millions of low income. In just a couple of days, many will notice smaller monthly benefit checks, and several Democrats want to take action on this. Many are trying to fall into food security, and now, when the crisis aid has boosted food stamp benefits cuts next week again, millions of the low-income Americans will see smaller balances in the accounts that they use to pay for groceries, leaving food banks bracing for a spike in demand. As of March 1st,